G'day battlers, and today we ride high into the Voyager Cup meta. So this is going to be the Silph monthly theme for the month of April, which includes regionals, so it is a big one. And speaking of regionals, we're going to be getting pretty regional in this cup, in the Kanto sort of sense of the word. But yeah, please subscribe if you haven't already so that you don't miss any of the Voyager / regionals content that will be coming out over the next month. But yeah, let's get on with it. So every single Pokemon is eligible for this cup, so it is a very big one and we have a lot to go through. Really quickly, Voyager Cup will allow you to use one Pokemon from Kanto region or Gen 1, as in they're the same thing, and then one from Gen 2, one from Gen 3, one from Gen 4, one from Gen 5 plus, so that's like Alolans, Galarians, and Melmetal as well. And then also there's a wildcard slot as your 6th, so you can put any Pokemon from any of the regions except there's a bunch of bans for the wildcard slot, so basically the best Pokemon cannot be put in the wildcard slot. So for example, Altaria can only be selected in the generation slot, generation 3 I think, cannot be selected in the wildcard slot. So we'll go through that in a little bit. Let's jump straight in the meta, but first, I have made my own meta infographic, don't you worry, but we're going to be starting here because, really quick, I think I would be a terrible YouTuber if I didn't bring your attention to this graphic. Put together by GamePress, it is just absolutely brilliant, has everything you need to be looking at if you aren't already, all of Pokemon organised into kind of roles. So yeah, this is a really great place to start. Please pause this and take a look at it, take it in if you need to. The previous, what I mentioned before about the restricted picks for the wildcard slot, they're all highlighted here in yellow. But yeah, pause that if you need to, and now onto my meta infographic. So, keeping in mind that you won't be able to use any of the 6 Pokemon that you want to willy-nilly, there's going to be a bit of give and take as you build your teams around this sort of infographic. So, each infographic group includes at least one Pokemon that you are allowed to use in your wildcard slot. That is except for the Azumarill slot, which is literally just an Azumarill slot, right there in the middle. I'm sorry, but Azumarill is just unmatched in its role that it plays in this cup. Like in the fairy department, like on that last infographic, the next best fairy is like ranked 46 on PvPoke. It is just unmatched. And it beats so many things, and you've got your options whether you want to go with any combination of Ice Beam, Play Rough, and Hydro Pump. So, I mean, luckily though, there are only 2 other Pokemon in Gen 2 that you can't use as your wildcard slot after you choose a Azumarill, those being Skarmory and Umbreon, which both, they're good Pokemon, but not as good as Azumarill. So, yeah, this gen definitely it is the one with the least banned wildcards. So yeah, lucky on that front, but back onto the actual meta, Azumarill's performance is going to depend a little bit on your moveset. Like if you're going to have Ice Beam, you're going to do good up against the grasses. You're kind of going to need Hydro Pump to be good against the tanks, up against the steels in the top. But yeah, overall, got great coverage against the flyers, except for Tropius for obvious reasons. You're going to have some counterplay to the grasses with that Ice Beam, steels, Hydro Pump, and then fighters also pretty much holds its own against anything if it has the right shielding, like anything in this cup at all. So moving on to those fighters in the top left though, Medicham and Scrafty are both banned from being a wildcard pick, but Machamp is available. And don't tell the other 2, but Machamp is actually higher rated on PvPoke than both of them. So, Medicham undeniably does hold up well against the core meta, but yeah, taking a look at that a little bit more, fighters are obviously going to be taking out the steels really well. They're basically losing to Azumarill and the flyers. They're able to come out on top against the Mud Boys, and then the grasses kind of have a back and forth arrow there. So Venusaur can beat up the fighters, but the other grasses have a much tougher time against the fighters. So that's the back and forth. Venusaur good against the fighters, the other one's not so much, so Meganium and the Victory Bell. Keeping with those grasses though, Venusaur is the only one here that's banned from being your wild card, out of these 3 on the graphic I mean. Meganium is unlikely to be your Gen 2 pick just because it's Azumarill, also in Gen 2, but you can bring Meganium in as your wild card. Victory Bell is also around much further down if you didn't want to go for the kind of Frenzy Planters, and if you wanted to go for a hard Razor Leaf, you could also go for Shadow Victory Bell. But yeah, they obviously eat Mud Boys for breakfast, able to come down and take down the mighty Azumarill. Don't enjoy the Flyers' company, and they're kind of back and forth with the steels, but I don't love the confusions from the Jirachi, especially the poison grass types. And then they also don't really like how spammy Registeel is, but they're actually they don't really care about Bastiodon, even though Bastiodon has Flamethrower. They just kind of outpace him, but Bastiodon's pretty slow. But onto those steals, Registeel and Bastiodon, both great picks, but also barred from being a wildcard slot. Also Melmetal, not pictured, but he's also not wildcard available. Jirachi is a possible pick for that wildcard slot if you have the candy to invest, or you've already built it up. But yeah, they're going to lose to the fighters, have the grass hit matches covered up, as mentioned before, lose to Azumarill, lose to Mudboys, and chomp down on the Flyers hard. Bastiodon, obviously the biggest wrecker of the Flyers with Smackdown, but none of the Flyers really like seeing any of the steals, but hey, what are they going to do? Those Flyers, though, we've got Skarmory, Altaria, and Tropius, the big Great League picks that have been around since the beginning. Unfortunately for them, they are also all wildcard restricted, so that does mean that you'll only have one of the Azumarills or Skarmory pair on your team. I don't need to tell you which one I would be taking out of Azumarill and Skarmory, but or will I? Maybe I'm saying all this pro Azumarill stuff to throw you off the track, but maybe I'm not. Or maybe I am. But Flyers, Mantine is also there as the wildcard eligible flyer. Together they can take down the Mighty Grasses. They can take, they'll lose to Azumarill. As before, Azumarill just kind of outpaces them, gets the Ice Beams going, but yeah, they'll lose to the Tanks, obviously, and they actually do lose to the Mudboys. Quagsire's got Stone Edge, Whiscash has got Blizzard, and then Swampert kind of just outpaces, and then, yeah, except for Tropius. Tropius is obviously going to take down the Mudboys very well, very, very well, but yeah. They've got pretty decent coverage against the meta. And then last but not least is the Mudboys down there. I saw someone had mentioned on Discord that a Silph bylaw states that you can't ban Mudboys 2 months in a row, which I found funny, don't fact check it. But we've got Whiscash and Swampert as the restricted picks, and then Quagsire is the unrestricted pick. We've gone through all these matchups already, but really quickly, they lose very, very, very hard to the Grasses, lose to the Fighters, and to Azumarill, but not without a fight, that is. Then beat up all the steals, as well as beating up the Flyers, except for the darn Tropius. But yeah, how'd they get grass into the sky anyway, stupid Tropius? But that is my Voyager Cup meta infographic. Hope that this can help you out in your team building in some capacity. Good luck to all of you who will be competing in regionals. I was hoping to see some people in Sydney for the regionals tournament, but alas, we must go on one way or another. So I'll see some of you in the Discord, I guess, for those live battles. But I'm sure there'll be more opportunities forward. I was hoping to maybe get to 1,000 subscribers to live stream my regionals through the YouTube gaming app. Now that it's online, obviously I'm not sure about whether I want to be streaming, because obviously it's going to give my opponents an advantage. We'll just have to wait and see. Obviously it kind of relies on getting to that 1,000 subscriber mark, which, maybe could happen, but yeah. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially that subscribe one. Thank you to my patrons, Militime9458, brajSF, NegativeBen10 and NotRandyN3wman for supporting the channel. Really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you very much for checking out this video, and I'll see you in the next one, hopefully, after you've hit that subscribe button, yeah? Hit it real good. By now there's probably 7% of you still watching, so just know you're in the top 7%. You're the top 7% of the list of people that I like, so yeah, you're super cool. Okay, see you now, bye. And onward we voyage!